I think I got to know Shéamuis first back in the early 1970, when we were both on the production team for the first Fleadh Nua. And after that, then, when Comhaltas had a radio programme, we worked on the organising and production of a programme together every week for a couple of years. And we're great fun doing that, because there's many things that would strike you about Shéamuis Mhic Mhathúna. The fun, the enjoyment, the crack, everything had a light-hearted approach. But the one thing that would also strike you, and also struck me, was his knowledge. Shéamuis had an amazing knowledge of the tradition, and he's one of the few people I knew that was highly respected in the music, in the sean-nós singing, and in the traditional singing in English. He had a command of all three, and he was respected as a knowledgeable person in all of those three areas, and one of the few people that I know that carried that, and indeed he carried it lightly. And I used to compare Shéamuis to the village blacksmith. Or the village schoolmaster, I'm sorry.
Village what?
The village schoolmaster, because when I would be with Shéamuis, I would wonder and wonder and wonder that one small head could carry all that he knew. It was like that. And I'll give you an example of that one time when I was working on the Eddie Clark collection, the old cassettes of Eddie Clark, and there were 42 songs on tape, and I knew that we could only put about 12 on a CD, and so I went through them and was thinking about them and all, but Shéamuis would be my go-to person. So I gave the cassettes to Shéamuis, and we sat down, we met and we sat down and we went through all the songs, each of them one by one, and divided them into categories and all. And there was one song that Shéamuis was quite taken with, The Maid on the Shore. He says, that's quite rare now to hear that song nowadays. You don't hear anyone singing that song. I says, great, we have something great for the CD. The only thing is the first verse is missing, he says. Oh, and then I thought, well, if it's that important, let's put it on, and we'll put a note in the notes that the first verse is missing. And Shéamuis says, well, no, maybe now. He says, would there be any chance we could get someone with a Cavan accent that'd sing the first verse? Because Eddie was Cavan. I says, yes, of course. I says, young Philip Clark, his nephew, that he made the cassettes for in the first place. So he says, that'd be great. And just like that, he put his hand into his pocket, he took out his biro, and he wrote me the first verse. From the head. That's the way the head was. That's what was in the head. And that kind of knowledge. And I always enjoyed Shéamuis. He was a great man to sing a song. But of course, Shéamuis didn't just sing a song, he lived a song. Can you remember him with the chest out singing Morgilla Mar? And I can remember him one night at my Mullahoran concert that I run every year. He came down and he sang about the All-Ireland final between Cavan and Kerry in the Polo Grounds in 1947. And I can tell you that everyone in that hall felt they were in the Polo Grounds, and they all kicked every kick of the ball. That's the way he could deliver a song. And he said to me one time, he says, I'm glad I lived when I did, because I was there to meet all the owl boys and have the crack with them, he says. The Clancys, the Dennis Murphys, the Paddy McIlvanys, the John Keenans. And of course, all of those people are gone to their eternal reward now. So the fun continues up there.